Before we proceed to the last topic of this Java Level 1 course, I would like to discuss a few things. Let's open the project with the boxes. We have an already created box here. Let's pass it as an argument to the method systemout.println. Run the project, and you can see such a line. Where does this text come from? When we were talking about inheritance, I told you that we can create a hierarchy of classes and derive one class from another. But I didn't tell you that absolutely all objects in Java implicitly inherit from the class object. Let's create a new class without any fields. Do this in the package test. Call this class empty. It will not contain anything. Now create an object of this class in the class main. Empty, empty, assign symbol, new empty. Now write the name of this variable and a dot. And you can see that this object has some methods already. Where do they come from? We have not created any objects in the class empty. It's the class object where these methods come from. As I have already said, Java makes absolutely all existing classes inherit from this class. We will not go deeper into all these methods. We will focus only on one method, toString. This method converts an object to a string. This is why we're able to pass it as an argument to the method systemout.println. This method implicitly calls the method toString from the object and converts it to a string. It means that if we take our box and call the method toString from it and run the project, the result will be the same. It's because the method toString was called unbeknown to us. Since we inherited from the class object, we can easily override this method to have our box printed out in a more readable form. Go to the class box. To override the method, press Ctrl+O and select the method to be overridden. We want to override the method toString. It returns a string, so let's create it. Write string, call the variable result, assign symbol, width. Now let's print out length from a new line. And height from a new line too. Return this string. Write return result. As you remember, we can do without this variable, so write return immediately. Delete the variable. Run the project once again. Now when we pass an object box as an argument, the data about this object are displayed. Let's delete all the other outputs. Delete the weight box too. And this new object empty, and the method toString as well, because as I have told you, it's implicitly called anyway. Run the project. We can see the output about our box in a more readable format. The method toString is often used in my Android course. This is why I decided to spend some time reviewing it here. The second thing to consider is working with a string. Let's see how we were creating the variable result. Let's get it back here. So we are taking a string, add a variable and another string, another variable, and so on. This line can be presented in a more convenient form. To do so, the static method string.format can be called for the string class. I will write it first and then explain what it does. String dot format, and in the brackets create the following string: width, colon, %, s, carriage return, length, colon, %, s, carriage return, height, colon, %, s. Now after the quotes, put a comma and pass our variables width, length, and height, and close the line with a semicolon. Delete the line we have written before this one and run the project. We can see that nothing's changed. Let's see what this method does. As an argument, we pass a string in which we leave some space for the variables. We say print out the message with colon space and then leave some space for the variable. Then start from a new line and print out the word length, colon, and space and leave another space for the variable. Then a new line again and the string again, and one more space for the variable. After this line, we enumerate the variables separated by commas to be placed in the spaces we left and in order in which they are placed here. This method is very often used in the real life, and here is the third thing to be considered. Go to the class main. Delete the code from here. The task is as follows. We must create a dice simulator. Upon every program launch, it must print out a number in the range between 1 and 6, and it must be different every time. To do this, there's a static method random in the math class. It returns a double-type number from 0 to 1. Let's create this. Double, call the variable random, assign symbol. We are calling the static method random from the class math. Let's print this variable on the screen. We can see 0.72, 0.03. And so every time we will see a different number between 0 and 1 exclusively. It means that the biggest number will be 0.99999 and many nines more. We will now multiply the result by 6, and thus we will get a number from 0 to nearly 6. The maximum possible number to be displayed will be 5 point lots of nines. What happens if we convert the double type to the int type? Create a new variable called random int. And this random variable will be converted to the int type. When we convert double to int, the fractional part of the number is omitted without any kind of upward rounding. That is, if 5.99999 is converted into the int type, we will get just 5. So we will have a random number from 0 to 1, multiplied it by 6, and converted it to the int type, and eventually got a number from 0 to 5. Let's print this out and make sure it is so. Here we have 2, 2 again, 0, 0 again, too many zeros, 1, and so on. Thus, to get a number from 1 to 6, we must increment the variable random int by 1. Random int plus plus. Thus, our problem is solved. We will always have a number between 1 and 6. The solution of this problem usually takes one line only, without so many variables and lines. We will simply write it as follows. Create a variable, call it result, and assign it such a value. Math.random times 6 and plus 1. Then the result must be converted into the int type. Put this into the round brackets. Insert round brackets here too, and convert this to int. Don't forget the semicolon. Let's print the variable result out in the console. Let's delete this code. Everything works fine. Why did we put the expression math.random multiplied by 6 plus 1 into the brackets? Why couldn't we write it like this? Because if we did so, the math.random variable alone would be converted into the int type. Math.random returns a number between 0 and 1 exclusively. So when we convert this value to the int type, the fractional part will be omitted and we will get just 0. If we write it this way without the brackets, the expression will always return 0, and multiplying it by 6 will still be 0, and then we will add 1, so the final result will always be number 1. This is why we need these brackets. We will get the number from 0 to 1, which will be multiplied by 6, and then 1 will be added to it, and the whole expression will be converted into the int type, stored in the variable result, and printed out. That's all for today. Homework. Write a program which prints out a random number between 10 and 100 in the following form: random number this or that, using string format. Good luck and see you soon!